Hello, everyone. Tony here. And it's good to see you all here tonight. I thought it would be fun to return back to my roots a little bit with public domain. I haven't been teaching on it as much, you've probably noticed, partly because I feel like I've taught the daylights out of it, but then I keep getting proven wrong and I make new discoveries and all of that fun stuff. You know how it goes. So, anyway, I thought it'd be a lot of fun. The 20s is one of my favorite eras for content, and we'll talk about why I'm focusing specifically on that as we get into tonight's training. Also, we have a house showing that's happening, I think, right now. So if strange people show up in my office, that's why. More than normal strange people who show up. So, anyway, let me go full screen here and do a formal introduction for tonight's training. You may get an echo, Liz, because my office is empty. All that's in here is my desk and my computer and all of that kind of stuff. So there's nothing to absorb all of the bouncy sound. So sorry about that. All right, let's see. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Expert Media Webinars. This is your host and teacher, Tony Ladig. And tonight, as I mentioned before this formal introduction, I thought it would be cool to return to the public domain and specifically to the Roaring 20s and finding art from there. Of course, if it's in the public domain, we can use it however we see fit, which is awesome. And we're going to dig into that tonight. We're focusing on the 20s for a very specific reason, and I'll share that once we get into the training here. So, in 2019, the United States finally caught up with copyright laws that had prohibited past works from entering the public domain. So there was a lot of legislation passed, things that have been done in the past to prevent certain types of content from falling into the public domain before corporations wanted them to. We'll just put it that way. And so as a result, like probably one of the biggest offenders, if you will, was in 1998. There was an act passed called the Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act, which extended copyright protection by 20 years. At one point, it used to be date of publication plus 70, or 75, excuse me, and then they extended it to 95. And it's different country to country. Most other countries are death of the author or artist plus 70 years, which honestly, I think that's fair, but as Thomas pointed out, what happened here basically effectively stalled the public domain. Nothing new is going to go into the public domain at all, except for works that were published before 1964 and didn't renew their copyrights. So some argue, I'm pretty sure correctly, that Disney was behind the push to protect Mickey Mouse. And guess what? Mickey Mouse is going back is supposed to go into the public domain in another couple years. So expect to possibly see copyright laws change again, because Disney thinks they're all that. And so basically what happened was that since 2019, because we caught up to copyright laws, new works have begun entering into the public domain each year, with 2022, where we are right now, marking the entries of works from 1927. Okay. Well, Steamboat Willie was the first movie that Mickey Mouse appeared in, Bunny. So ultimately, it came down to Mickey Mouse. They didn't care so much about the movie; they cared about the character because Disney is built on Mickey Mouse. Okay, so so we finally caught up. It used to be that it was works before 1923 that were straight into the public domain, and then between 1923 and 1964, the copyright had to be renewed 28 years after publication. If that did not happen, the work also went into the public domain. So now that we've kind of caught up to the law, so to speak, every year since 2019, we've moved forward another step. Okay. Which, if you do the math, basically it's whatever the current year is minus 95. Okay. So 2019 plus 95, 2020, or minus 95, excuse me, 1924. And so we've been moving forward a year each year. Now this year, usually people will argue that it should be the previous year. So technically, I guess for 2022, we're talking about works from 1926. And the reason why they do that is because copyrights were submitted quarterly. And if you do the research, you can kind of see that like on the University of Pennsylvania site and so on. But rather than try to figure out when it was officially submitted and officially approved and all of that, they just kind of go to the previous year, okay, which makes it easy, no brainer, because that way you're not required to think. But technically, anything that was approved for copyright up until today, 95 years ago, would be in the public domain, technically, right? So even if we take like works from 1926, a lot of big things went into the public domain this year. Notwithstanding most of the Winnie the Pooh books, the original books, and the associated illustrations with them. That's just one example that comes top of mind. So the good news is that there's a lot of new works that are now going into the public domain each year here in the US. It's a little bit different in other countries, but we're not going to focus on that tonight. And so if you think about it, where we are in the current scheme of works entering in the public domain, we're smack dab in the middle of the roaring 20s, right? Each year we get this bonus windfall of brand new artworks, brand new books, music, all of that kind of stuff that goes into the public domain, which is awesome. So the roaring 20s was marked by a general feeling of novelty and optimism that was associated with modernity. How's that? Modernity. However you want to say it. Modern stuff. South Central PA way of saying it. And that feeling impacted every area of life, including art. If you think about what was going on in the world at the time, obviously I wasn't around, but the world just came out of World War I, and everything was really crazy as a result of all of that. And they were looking for a change. And then all of a sudden we get into the 20s and stuff just blew up in a really cool, positive way. Of course, that kind of ended with the stock market crash and the Great Depression and all of that. But, we had, like Thomas said, we had cars coming on the scene. We had all kinds of technological advances. It was kind of like a time period of skyscrapers being built and just all kinds of cool things happening. Real renaissance. And the art that was being produced in that time kind of was lockstep with that. And as a result, there were several major art trends that happened in the 1920s. A lot of these kind of moved forward from the previous years. So they were already building up steam for a couple decades in some cases, but not in every case. So Art Deco, of course, was one of the big, probably most well-known art trends from the 20s specifically. It impacted everything from traditional art itself to architecture and all kinds of things. Super cool. Love it. Impressionism also still was popular. It didn't show up on the scene in the 20s. It had already been underway. Same with Cubism and Surrealism. A lot of these got their start a decade or two before we hit the 20s, but they really fit in perfectly with the energy that was happening in that period of time, that 10-year period of time. And then realism, of course, was also a big thing. And this is just a couple random pieces of art that I found. Weird as heck, but it's probably why I like a lot of this stuff, because I like weird things. So Art Deco, Surrealism, even Art Nouveau was still kind of a thing at the beginning of the 20s, even though it had been around for quite a while, from the late 1800s, actually. And so there's just a lot of really cool art that's associated with this period of time. Some of the best, most well-known paintings were produced in this period from these art trends. Okay. And so what I decided to do was put together some resources. We're not going to be super long here tonight, but I put together a list of resources that you can use to access some of these different types of works from this era and from other eras as well. The reason why it's so important, obviously, I'm getting ready to teach a new course on public domain images, and I have some cool things up my sleeve for that. But as I've mentioned in sales copy and in other things, out of all of the content that's available in the public domain, nothing comes even close to public domain images. I mean, if you think about it, public domain images is a very blanket term, and it includes everything from, paintings and drawing and graphic design and all of that, but also sculpture and on it goes. Symbolism, even font design, and all of those things are all included in images, quote unquote. And so as a result, it has, like, you could pull together every other type of public domain content that there is, whether you're talking about books or patents or periodicals, newspapers, comics, all of those things, put them all together with everything that's out there in the public domain, and images would still eclipse them all. There's just so much content, which is good news for us because we can use it for a lot of different kinds of things, from creating print on demand products to using it as source images for working with artificial intelligence and all of those kinds of things. Lou. And so there's just so much opportunity there. And of course, I've talked about it in the past, and there's a lot that we can do with it. But by the same token, you can't find what you don't know to look for, right? And so as a result, even though I've shared some pretty cool resources in the past, there are so many more that that are coming out all the time, coming up on the scene, And so these are some of my favorites, the ones that we're going to look at here. And I'm not going to open up every single one here tonight. You can, I'll be including the PDF like I have been in the area on Expert Media Hub. And so you can download the slides and check all of the resources out there. That's why I put together these slides. But there's some pretty cool ones. Like if we switch over here, this is the first one, raw pixel. And one of the things that I really like about this site is that they have it organized in a lot of different cool ways, including artists. One of the best ways to find new art is to know the artists and who they are, and then do searches, right? And so you can see here just a lot of different styles. And if we, find one that we really enjoy or or whatever, we can pick one. And now, not all of the stuff here, obviously, is in the from the 1920s. Okay, but like Degas, I like Degas, and we click on his name, and you can see lots and lots of different works of his that are here. Um, let's go back up here to the top. You can also do all public domain if you want to. Here's some nice Art Nouveau styles. Now, these are actually from a book. You can tell if we click on one here. Now, this is not free if you want the high resolution images. Okay, you pay a little bit of nothing. It's not that much. But you can see here, the original is huge, 6,143 by 8,600 pixels. It's massive. You can do anything you want to. Thank you, Debbie. So great site that you can explore. Another one, it's driving me crazy. Another one is ArtV. This is a newer site. And again, you can search by artist or keyword. So like if we wanted to do Salvador Dali, we search for Salvador Dali and it gives us all of these different ones for Salvador. That's funny. So that must mean that they don't have him actually on the site. Let's try it this way. Nope. Let's just not do a search, but browse. So obviously a lot of different classical art styles. And typically, and this has been the case for me, where, my default for public domain these days is just going to Pixabay or Unsplash or something like that and downloading newer images and photographs. But I've had definitely a more renewed interest in classic art because of that we're here today, right? That this is kind of how we got to the kinds of things that we embrace now, some of the new styles and new trends and all of that. And so I've already started experimenting with utilizing some of this art in some new ways. Like, how could we reinvent like this bouquet of cabbage roses, for instance, or the dog whose ears were cropped? Like, how could we reinvent that today? Whether it's using artificial intelligence or not, I mean, Lord knows that there's tons of options there. Which, by the way, those of you who were in last night's course, I did upload that bonus PDF today for all of the Google Colab notebooks. There's lots of them, 4 or 5 pages worth. So a lot of interesting things there. Let's see, what else do we got? Europeana, I've talked about before. Museo is another search site. Calisphere is from University of California, so a lot of different kinds of both photographs and art that's available here, over 2 million items. The Met, which has a terrific collection of classic art in the public domain. Same with British Library. I have no idea how to say that, but so I'm not going to embarrass myself. But this is actually one of my favorite sites, believe it or not. Has been for years, just because they have a lot of great traditional art like Rembrandt, as you can see, and others as well. but another great website to explore and to, you know, reinvent, if you will. What else we got here? I just did that. I must have accidentally clicked on the link. National Gallery of Art, of course, is U.S. based. Same with Smithsonian. Their open access portal is available to us where you can, again, enter in your search terms or explore however you want to do that. Now, come on now. There we are. When it comes to finding some of the art, uh, obviously knowing artist names is kind of handy. I'm like the way I work, I don't know how you work or think or whatever, but I'm a big fan of databases, which is why I create so many. Um, I mean, I usually create them in PDF form or whatever, but if you think about it, they're still databases. And it just works for me. It helps me remember because I found especially like with creating art that's in the AI programs, it's really easy to get stuck in a rut, where you use the same artist over and over again because, yeah, sure, you like their style or whatever. I mean, but I've tested over 1,000 artists. I can't freaking remember all of those artists. It'd be awesome if I could, but I just can't. And so it helps to have those databases. And so this will serve as another one of those. And these are artists primarily who were still creating art in the 20s. Okay. A lot of them started much earlier. Some of them just got their start in the 20s or whatever, but sticking with our theme of the roaring 20s and what's going to be coming into the public domain over the next few years. I mean, you figure we have, for this year, we're going to be at 1927. We're only 3 years away from having all the content generated in the 1920s actually in the public domain here in the US, provided that something doesn't change. So we'll see about that one. Nothing we can do, I guess. But I'm just going to go down through the list. I don't need to read them all. Some of them I can't even pronounce their names correctly. So Robert Fine, I'm pretty sure I can get that one right. Munch, I really like that style. It's kind of like the screaming face guy, Kandinsky is another one that I really like a lot, that style. Maxwell Parrish, a little more traditional for me, but Dali I really like because he's another weirdo. Same with Picasso. I like all the weirdos. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm weird. But you can see here, MC Escher, another weird one, of course. I like very blocky style kind of thing. Man Ray, very popular. Same with Joe Moreau. Norman Rockwell, everybody knows who that is. Actually, I'm not into that style. Norman Rockwell. Same with Thomas Kincaid. I know it's popular and all of that. Certainly my dad's favorite artist. I mean, even my dad's tombstone has a carving in it based on a Thomas Kincaid painting, his famous painting. So I'm like, come on, Dad, really? So every time I visit his grave, I'm reminded. Although I will say it's a great artist keyword phrase in working with AI art. I mean, you can get some pretty cool results with that artist name. Edward Hopper, another one that I really like a lot. He was just getting started in the 20s, if I remember correctly, but still some pretty cool art. And so basically, it's pretty straightforward. If you have an artist style that you like Kandinsky, we'll use him as a case study. Do a Google search. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I'm always surprised at how many people just don't know how to search Google. So obviously, you could put in his name and you will likely find a lot of results about his life and all of that, which can be interesting to read. You know, what inspired him and all of that kind of stuff. You can, of course, click on images. And then you can see why I like him. Just super crazy cool. But then it goes on, right? This gives us a launch pad to find some of his works that we can then use as prompts for AI or to create our own version of or inspired by or whatever the case may be. Just super, super simple method. But it isn't the only method. And one of the things that I found is that while working with Google is an obvious starting point, it's not the only one. Okay, there are others. I just realized I didn't turn my screen recording on. That's okay. I'll just have to download the replay from YouTube because it makes no sense for me to do that now. So, you know, one of the things that I look for whenever I do research, because I've had a number of people over the years ask me how I research. So, whenever I look at this list, you know, these images, what I'm looking for isn't so much the art. I mean, I am, but I'm not. What I'm looking for more is where this art is being found. You know, so obviously there is a website that has his works. We can right mouse click and open that into a new tab. And let's visit. And it's down. Awesome. So that's not a source. Let's see. So if we keep looking along here, you'll see artsy.net. That's actually on my slides. We have tateorg.uk. So it has information about him and some of his works. So you kind of get the idea there. Some other things, encyclopedia, so Britannica, Wikipedia again, WikiArt, another one. And so you can see, like, if I go back here to my slides, Fine Art America is another one. WikiArt, Wikimedia Commons, Artcyclopedia, Artsy, ArtNet, Heritage Auctions is one that you may not have thought of. But one of the things that I like about Heritage Auction, of course, you know, Kristen and I have been huge proponents of auctions and buying and selling and all that kind of stuff. We love it. We haven't been doing it lately, but we're still hardcore. We have to ignore them on purpose. Although these days, the auctions that we've been jumping in on are more crystals and stuff. But, you know, just to stick with our case study, they only have one. But in the spirit of you can't find what you don't know to look for, here we are. Now, let's just talk about something. Heritage Auctions in and of itself is a copyrighted site. However, copyright law says that exact reproductions of works that are in the public domain are also in the public domain. And what that means is that technically we could download it and use it. I mean, and this is a big image. I don't know if it'll save the full size. Let's find out. So it looks like so pretty cool. I mean, weird image, man. But Again, that's me. Now, in this particular case, Heritage Auctions didn't have much by this particular artist, but there could be other artists where you could find those works. Another thing that you'd want to pay attention to, and you'll see that they actually have it listed here, is that this was produced in 1922. So we are well within our ability to search. One other thing that I want to point out is that while we are here, you can see where he was also in past auctions. And so you can see some of the other works, in some cases, actual paintings, and in some cases, books and so on, which we're not really interested in those. But some really super cool stuff. I like this. That's cool. Actually, I like this too. I never heard of this artist before. Pleasant Drive, San Antonio. You know, last time I was in San Antonio, my brain was totally in this space. Actually, I have no idea. Which actually, that leads me to think about another resource that I think I've shared before, is Worth Point. Worth Point basically, let me sign in so we don't have any issues here. Worth Point gives you the ability to search past auctions on eBay, of course, but also most of the major auction houses. And so you can see what things sold for, but it also would include images, right? So type in Vasily. Hopefully I'm spelling his name right. $5,300 results. So again, if we follow the thought process of you can't find what you don't know to look for, this is a great way. Like some of these paintings, obviously, as frames, we're not going to be able to use them because they're not quality. But it shows us, you know, oh, hey, here's this really cool original. Let's just use this as an example. So they don't actually have a good version of this painting available here. It's a crappy picture, right? Looks like it was sold on eBay for 150 bucks a couple years ago. But one thing that we can do, check this out. Now, I haven't tested this ahead of time, so nothing might work. Take a screenshot and go to Kenai and hit upload. Now, the screenshot is a bit warped, but we found 70 versions, and we can sort by biggest image. Let's see if this will give us our image. Yeah, there you go. So a digital version of that. I use this kind of strategy all the time to find stuff that is unfindable, right? So it just works really well. So we can, you know, just kind of scour through Worth Point, scour through Heritage Auctions. There's other auction houses that you can also do something similar with, or you know, Artsy ArtNet, WikiArt, which actually one of the databases that some of the AI programs, including Accomplice, draws on is WikiArt. So there's a database with all of those images from WikiArt in that database that we then use to draw from when we do our AI outputs. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into how we can use some of this art and bring it forward into what we're doing today, right? I mean, it's not like we want to pass it off as our own. That's just stupid and wrong. But to use it to inspire new stuff that we want to create, or to use it as the foundation for something that, maybe we can take like one of his and convert it into a like a vector painting or something like that. If we go back to this and save image as, and just save it to the desktop, and then we could bring it into a program like SDFX or something like that. And it automatically converts it into a vector. And then we can adjust or whatever accordingly. It's not a perfect vector, but we could turn it into a black and white image if we wanted and use that as the foundation for something just with a click of a button, or create our own, Kandinsky inspired version, right? Maybe you don't like yellow, so we can make it a nice, pretty darker teal. So a lot of different ways of spinning the art from this era, which is such a great, huge era of art. Debbie says, book covers, t-shirt designs. Yeah, on and on it goes. And Thomas says, some sites will lie and tell you not to download. Yeah, they try, but the law is the law. That's just kind of the way I look at it. They can say what they want, but, for non-commercial use, it's in the public domain, dude. Cut me a break. So, hey, Ralph, the program that I just had is called SDFX that I was just using. SDFX. It is by moonlighting.io, I think, if I remember correctly. So Moonlighting are the same folks that do Paint, which is another great program, another favorite of mine. And maybe they aren't the ones who did it. I was thinking that they were. I may stand corrected. Let's find out. SDFX. There you go. SDFX.app. So it's available for either your desktop or for your iPhone. It looks like it may be a Mac only program. I have it both places. I don't think it's super expensive, if I remember correctly. Looks like the App Store, Apple rolled out all their latest and greatest stuff. So now they're probably not going to work. I honestly don't remember what it costs, but since we're talking about it, it may not show me since I already have it. Yeah, it's just telling me to open. But anyway, I think it's a good thing to check out. Yes, Liz, STFX is Mac only. Some of you, though, will be excited to know that I finally broke down and installed Parallels on my Mac so that I could run Windows programs, because there's a couple Windows only programs that are awesome that I've been wanting to check out and experiment with and maybe teach about or whatever. But I hate Windows. Like the fact that I even have Windows 11 on my Mac, almost makes me, well, I won't get graphic. It we'll just say it doesn't make me feel well. Um, but I haven't had time to do much with that because we're getting ready to move. Obviously, since I had folks here in my office a little bit ago looking at the house, but hopefully soon. Our move-in date for the our apartment where we're moving or downsizing into before we get our rig is April 1st. So that's awesome. Liz asks, can you download earlier versions of SDFX if your computer is apparently a dinosaur? I don't know, honestly. Leslie said, I thought it said free with in-app purchases. Yeah, it did, but you want the in-app purchases. Trust me. If something is free with in-app purchases, I always buy all of the in-app purchases. It just makes sense to me. I know, Lori. I'm probably going to go to, Apple Purgatory now. I've had Windows at different times. It's just been like working with Parallels. I'm hoping that it's better than what it's been. I've had Parallels installed multiple times in the past, and it just, it's like, okay, I have a bunch of squares. Let's find some round holes to stick them in. To me, that's Windows, right? Like, how freaking hard is it to make a stable operating system? Geez. William, I'm not sure what you're referring to as far as VUR.life. I have no idea what that even means. Speak in English, man, or at least something we can understand. And if you're promoting stuff, go away now, or I'll remove you myself. This isn't that kind of webinar. All right. Anybody else have comments or questions? Oh, it's a bot, of course. Gone, blocked. Thomas says, I'm looking at a new Mac now. I wonder how long it will take to learn a whole new system. There is definitely a bit of a learning curve between Windows and Mac, but I think it's been a long time since I've used Windows. And Mac is just whenever I switched over, it felt very intuitive to me. And so I don't think you have any problems that, unless you have a problem with, stuff running the right way it's supposed to all the time. Ralph, it is free to download, but it's very limited. Like if you want access to some of the other options that I had there on the left-hand side, I think those cost money. I don't know how much. I don't remember. Thomas says, how about things that are from publications that no longer exist? Yeah, absolutely. Publications, like stuff that's printed in publications, is certainly fair game as well for the same time periods. Yep. Mark says, I've always thought Kandinsky looked like it was AI created. And that may be why I was drawn to it. I mean, there's a couple artists that are like that, that I would consider very much ahead of their time, especially a lot of the surrealism artists, like where they got the idea to create some of what they created. Um, what? Oh, okay. I assume you're going into the hot tub? Oh. Like normally when your wife walks into your office wearing a bathing suit, she's not having hot flashes. She's not old enough for that. So hot tub is the next. Hot flash. Heavens. And there we go. Right down the toilet.
Just letting you know where I am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have fun.
You know I will.
Laura says, it told me I need iOS 15 or later. I have an old iPhone. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, I always stay updated on my phone. I just recently updated. I think I told you last week. I updated to Monterey, which is the latest OS from Apple. And at first, my computer was like, WTF. I mean, just all kinds of problems. Disconnected me from the internet, all kinds of things. And then after 2 reboots, it just chilled. And it's been fine ever since. I haven't had any more problems, but I was a little surprised with that. Leslie said, I need somebody to teach me what I'm doing wrong so my Mac will run spectacularly. The big thing is RAM. It really likes RAM. I have 64 gigs installed, and you can see here I currently have 35 gigs free. So you figure just for me to do what I'm doing right now, it's taking half of my RAM. So what that tells me is if I had 32 gigs in, my computer would be struggling. It would still do it, but it would be running slow. So that's definitely part of it. And there's some things that you can do to optimize, like turn off stuff that you're not actually using and those kinds of things. A good Google search, Leslie, would probably, top 5 things to maximize my Mac or some keyword phrase like that would point you in some good directions. Mark says at any age can have good hot flash. Maybe. What's funny is that Kristen is traditionally cold and I'm traditionally hot. And so we'll be in bed at night and she has like a sheet and 2 fuzzy blankets and a weighted blanket on, like 15-pound weighted blanket on top of that. And I'm there like with a sheet and hot. I don't understand it. An iPhone 4, Julia. Holy cow. Man, and I thought I was behind the times having an iPhone 11. I wanted to upgrade to a 13, but I figure, I don't know if they announced the new 14 today or not. Did they? Don't look like it. No, just 2 new shades of green for the iPhone 13. Crazy. I forgot that they were doing the announcement today. I just got an email. iPhone 5. What in the world, people? That's, I mean, hey, if it works fine, that's awesome. Actually, it would speak a lot to the technology, but I can't even imagine. Probably, Amy. The STFX program anyway should run um, on an iPad. I'll tell you what, I haven't done anything for a couple years on mobile apps. I've been thinking about it. Actually, for the last couple months, I've been thinking about doing another mobile apps like an iPad app kind of thing, um, because there are some crazy awesome programs available on, excuse me, on tablets these days, like iPads. Um, like Procreate is one that comes to mind. Just a freaking amazing program. I like trend setting. It's so awesome. But there's some others as well. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, you're right, Liz. How to maximize your retro iPhone. That's what I'll be teaching next week. So, just a reminder for those of you who haven't signed up yet, I'll be emailing about this tomorrow, but Public Domain Image Hacks Volume 2 starts Thursday. Busy week this week. But not a repeat of anything that I've taught in the past. I have a bunch of new image resources that we're going to get into in Module 1. I'm also going to talk about public domain and AI in Module 1. Not a huge amount on AI because I've been teaching a lot about it lately. And that's likely to not stop. I just found 2 brand new sites today. One of them blew me away. I'm not going to give out too much information on it because I'm still experimenting. But so imagine uploading a picture, whether it's a regular photograph or an AI generated image or whatever. And then you have a paintbrush where you can paint on the picture, and what shows up according to where you painted is based on prompt phrases like trees or stars or something like that. And whatever you type in only shows up where that paintbrush painted. That's a program that I just found today. I was blown away. Let's just say it's amazing. And so we're going to get into those kinds of things in Module 1. Module 2, I decided to focus on spiritual images in the public domain. Same with home decor, for a very specific reason. First of all, these are probably 2 of the hottest trends, long-standing trends that have existed. They're not going anywhere this year, next year, 10 years from now. They will still be popular trends. With where we are right now, with all the crazy that's happening in the world, more than ever, people are connecting with their spiritual roots, whether it's Christianity in the church or fill in the blank, it doesn't matter. And the good news is that there's a ton of resources in the public domain that's connected to religion and spirituality on all levels. And I know that like a couple of the folks that I follow, some of the things that they're doing right now with like sigils and all kinds of things, creating products is just amazing. And so we're going to talk about that in Module 2. And in Module 3, home decor. But home decor is constantly changing. But right now we're kind of in this long-standing, almost mega trend. It's like boho, bohemian, very popular, that kind of picks and chooses a lot of different things and then mixes it together. There's also a lot of related trends in home decor, like farmhouse and different things like that are all still kind of the same. But one of the things that I've noticed, especially with us getting ready to go full-time RV in the next several months, is that the home decor revolution isn't just for houses. It's also a huge movement in the RV community for trailers, for fifth wheels, for Class A's, so on and so forth. And then, compounded on top of that, you have the tiny house movement that's happening. And I mean, it's just both of these are just mega trends, and there's so much that we as product creators can do within these two super trends, especially. So that's why I thought it'd be a lot of fun to focus on those from a public domain images perspective. Spoiler alert, a lot of the products that are being developed by mainstream manufacturers, they're already drawing on public domain, which is why it just makes sense for us to get in on the fun. Bunny says, I am Bohemian. I don't know that I can be defined by a single style, but if I were, it would be that one. I love the decor. Minimalist, which, we're quickly becoming, is pretty strongly anchored in boho styles. But it's very interesting. Honestly, I can't wait to dig in and show you some of this stuff that I've been discovering. So we're going to get underway this coming Thursday. And actually, let me see if I can. I'm going to copy the link and put it in chat. Yeah, steampunk is another one that I really like, for sure, Chris. Kristen loves steampunk. Thomas asks, are you going to do a webinar on public domain photography? I don't know. Honestly, I haven't thought about it yet. I don't know. Almost straightened out on its own. I'm just kind of reading through some of your comments. Bunny says, my cat on my lap is named Bohemian. That's cool. And Ralph says, unlock all features is $3.99 a month or $24 a year. That sounds about right. And I'll tell you, man, it's a hella awesome program. I've had a couple problems with it crashing here and there early on, but I think it was doing that because I was teaching a live webinar and I hadn't rebooted my computer in a while, but there's so many cool things you can do with that program. I love it. There's nothing quite like it on the market anywhere else. So they've definitely figured some things out that others haven't. Kelda says, Bohemian equals socially unconventional in an artistic way. That describes me perfectly. I am very socially unconventional in an artistic way. So thanks for that definition. You just finally helped me define myself. That's awesome. Val says cottagecore is a thing too. Yeah, but a lot of them are related, right? Which is interesting to me. Mark says in a top mag was all public domain comics that he saw today. And Susan asks, did you decide on a homework? Or Suzanne, excuse me. Actually, I haven't looked at the latest entries for that, but I really like the one that you suggested. Let's pull that up. Pam and Bunny are with flower fairies. Suzanne suggested magical trail. I love paths and journeys and all of that kind of stuff. But I also like flower fairies. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's have two homework assignments. How about that? Since we got two different suggestions. For those of you who were in the advanced strategies class, You can either create an image this week that's defined by the phrase magical trail or flower fairies or flower fairies on a magical trail. So, you know me, I love fairies. I think they're awesome. But they're both great suggestions, and I appreciate everyone who suggested those. Suzanne, Bunny, Pam. So thank you all. Leslie, the homework is assigned images or assigned themes, I guess. Each module we did that for the advanced strategies course. The first one, what was the first one? I forget. Trees. A lonely tree. That's what it was. The second one was dragons. And so now this one is flower fairies and magical path, or whatever it was that I said. Magical trail. Magical trail, magical path. Let's see. With the spiritual images in public domain, will the spiritual images in public domain include pictures of Bible story characters? Oh yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff there. I mean, we're not going to just limit the discussion to Christianity, though. I mean, we're going to go in all directions. Thomas says, have you ever tried to animate some of your beautiful nature pictures? I have not. And the primary reason why is because, dude, I see that as a major rabbit hole for me. Like whenever I get fascinated with something, I go deep and wide. And I just don't want the distraction right now. And, I've been very focused on certain things. Yeah, Lonely Tree. Was number one. Leslie said, I didn't realize that we had one for this week. Well, we didn't until about, a minute and a half ago. So I put a question out in the Facebook group asking what people would want as a theme for week 3 homework. And so that's what we were just discussing. And Julia, same. The homework themes that we decided upon for week 3 of advanced strategies, there were 2 suggestions. I like them both. Magical Trail from Suzanne and Flower Fairy from Bunny. And Pamela seconded Bunny's suggestion. So I thought it'd be cool to just do both. You can either use them combined together or individually, or you can create 2 separate images. It's up to you. I mean, the course is technically over, but still, I mean, any chance to create cool art is always a good chance. Always a good opportunity. Mark says, we need more rabbit holes. I know. Yep, I definitely don't. And it's like I discover them every day. It's like I have this special gift to discover rabbit holes. Any other comments or questions before we wrap this up for tonight? We are going to be having extra media webinars for the next few weeks, like we do every Tuesday. But the first week of April, and I'll be sending out an email about this, the first week of April, we will not be having one. And the primary reason why is because that's move week for us. Technically, we are moving the 5th, but we have a lot of prep to get everything ready. And the 5th, of course, is a Tuesday. So now, don't get me wrong, by moving, what I technically mean is that movers are coming and loading up a truck and taking them to our new place and unloading them. I'm not about to carry freezers and stuff up a flight of stairs. That just isn't going to happen. But we have to kind of be there and supervise. So that's when the movers are coming, is on the 5th. And then actually that will be between courses, which is awesome. So there won't be much of anything happening that week except for a webinar that I'm doing with Jay Boyer on Thursday about AI and NFTs. Liz says, great Webby, see you Thursday. And Bunny says, I've discovered new ways of creating things just playing with the fun homework. Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about it is, experimentation is awesome. Debbie says, I'm all done with moving myself. Did it for way too many times. Yeah, that's just kind of us. We outsource stuff that we don't want to do. I mean, that's just the truth of it. That's why we have a couple guys who work like handymen and stuff that come on a regular basis. That's why we have a housekeeper. That's why we hired a moving company. It's just, that's just how we roll. And Liz says, I just moved and it nearly killed me. Yeah, no. I'm happy to throw money at people. Thank you, Debbie. So Debbie hasn't said this yet, so I'm going to beat her to it. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel here, please do. It's always greatly appreciated. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you want notifies for future events, you can trust that I'm going to be posting those announcements in all of my various groups, the Facebook group, expertmediacommunity.com, those places, and by email. But you can also get notified directly from YouTube when these are coming up. So you can click on the bell if you like. I appreciate it. And Thomas says, I have a housekeeper that comes every November. Our housekeeper comes twice a week, so sorry. But that's pretty funny. All right. That's all that I have, folks. Thank you very much for joining me here tonight. And for those of you who are joining me on the new course, I will see you on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So good night, everyone.